James and John came to Jesus. They were sons of Zebedee. "Teacher," they said, "we would like to ask a favor of you." "What do you want me to do for you?" he asked. They replied, "Let one of us sit at your right hand in your glorious kingdom. Let the other one sit at your left hand." "You don't know what you're asking for," Jesus said. "Can you drink the cup of suffering I drink? Or can you go through the baptism of suffering I must go through?" "We can," they answered. Jesus said to them, "You will drink the cup I drink, and you will go through the baptism I go through. But it is not for me to say who will sit at my right or my left hand. These places belong to those they are prepared for." The other 10 disciples heard about it. They became angry at James and John. Jesus called them together. He said, "You know about those who are rulers of the nations. They hold power over their people. Their high officials ordered them around. Don't be like that. Instead, anyone who wants to be important among you must first be a servant. And anyone who wants to be first must be the slave of everyone. Even the Son of Man did not come to be served. Instead, he came to serve others. He came to give his life as the price for setting many people free."
So today's story is about two of Jesus' disciples, James and John. Now James and John were actually brothers. They came to Jesus and asked him this: "Can we sit at your right and left hand?" Now, to sit at someone's right and left hand was a place of honor. The head of the meal or the feast would be in the place of honor, and to be able to sit next to them was an important place. They were asking if they could be in this place in God's kingdom. They were asking a pretty big thing, a bigger thing than they even realized. Jesus told them, "Do you know what you're asking? Are you ready to not just sit by me, but to go through the difficult things that are going to happen?" Jesus knew what was going to happen. He was going to die, to be put to death, and many of his disciples would face the same thing. They'd be persecuted, hurt, maybe even killed for following Jesus, for believing in him, and for teaching others to be his disciples. They said, "Yes!" Now you have to give them points for confidence. They said, "Yeah, absolutely. We're ready to do whatever it takes." I'm not sure they knew exactly what was going to be coming ahead of them. But Jesus didn't stop them. He said, "Yes, you're going to follow me. But to decide who sits at my right and left hand isn't for me to decide." You see, Jesus, when he came to earth, was following the will of God our Father. He was acting in humility and obedience, as a servant, someone ready to do whatever it took. Jesus was not coming in authority. He was not coming to be a ruler then. He was coming to be a sacrifice, ready to do whatever it takes to be a servant. When all of the other disciples heard this, they were angry. They looked at James and John and said, "How dare you ask for such special places?" But Jesus stopped everyone. He said, "This isn't even something that you need to worry about. Don't worry about where it means to be important, because just like Jesus was doing, in his kingdom, it is important to be a servant, to be beneath people, to help them, to take our pride, the things that we think that we deserve, and to get rid of them, to put them to the side, and be ready to do what other people need." Jesus himself showed us this. He is God, yet he came to live here as a man and to ultimately die in our place. There's no greater way that someone can be a servant than to give his life up for someone. And as his disciples, we need to be ready to do the same. At the very least, we need to be ready to serve ourselves, to give up things, to be little for other people, to not put anything beneath ourselves, to make ourselves too proud. There's nothing that's beneath us. We need to be ready to serve people. And that's exactly what Jesus told his disciples. You need to be ready to serve people rather than to be served. To be in the bottom is to be on top. I'm baking some chocolate chip cookies. They're one of my favorite desserts. And a chocolate chip cookie wouldn't be a chocolate chip cookie without chocolate chips. But guess what? I've gotten everything else ready. The very last thing to make chocolate chip cookies is putting in the chocolate chips. These are what give the cookie its entire name, but they're the last step in the process. God's kingdom is like that too. Sometimes the most important things have to be last, and the most important people are the ones that are serving others. We have to be ready to be last if we want to do great things for the kingdom of God, just like Jesus did for us.